evening. I'm happy to be here with you again on day 12 of my 21 Days Live. This is, I think, the fatigue stage of going live for 21 days in a row. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really glad that I'm still into this 21-day challenge. And also, I am a little bit tired today. And I had a migraine in the middle of the day. I had to get up early for a doctor's appointment that was like a half hour away. So like my whole day has been sort of weird. It was sleeting this morning. I thought we were done with sleet. Cody, thanks for the encouragement. I'm halfway there. Appreciate that. So I'm starting by complaining. So nice to see you. Here I am to complain. It's sort of an appropriate kickoff to more than half. Yes, Cody, yes, more than half. I'm not amazing at math, but I do know that 12 is more than halfway to 21. It's nice to have an odd number so that I know like I was less than half and then more than half. There was no sort of halfway point. So anyway, I'm starting off complaining because like sometimes you need to complain. I'm like a pretty positive person. I'm a little bit of a Pollyanna. And some people don't know what a Pollyanna is, but it's basically somebody who's like always pretty happy, not a bright sider, not like a toxic positivity, but like everything's going to be okay kind of mentality. And today I woke up and I like instantly felt complainy, and then it was sleeting, and I had to go to this early doctor's appointment, and everything's fine, just regular follow-up kind of thing. And then I came home, it was sleeting and raining, and my day just was like I've had like a migraine most of the day, which is starting to lighten up, which is nice. But I am showing up anyway, and I'm telling you all of that because I think showing up anyway is really important, or choosing not to. Jen says that physically hurts me that people might not know Pollyanna. I know, fellow child of the 80s. I know. I picture Pollyanna's face and the joy and all of that, and I want that for everybody. But I chose to come, and I know that I could have chosen not to come today. I know that I could have chosen to take the day off, and that I have a forgiving community, and everybody would be like, oh man, sorry, hope you feel better. And also, I knew that I had a choice, and it made me want to show up. It made me want to do this anyway. Even if I'm not at my tip-top best, letting you see me human is like pretty important to me. You've seen it over the last several days. You've seen me be very human. And so I'm glad to just be here. And Cody says, when you don't feel like showing up, you probably should show up. Yeah, Cody, there's a balance there. And I'm sure you know this, but like, if I still had the active migraine that I had 3 hours ago, I might not have shown up, and I might have chosen not to show up and let my community know that the event was canceled and go take care of myself. But for me, doing this for 21 days in a row is a form of self-care. It's showing up for me and showing up for you, and being consistent about it. And so as long as I can, I will. And as long as I understand that I have choice, and I can decide that while my intention is 21 days in a row, I can choose not to if I have a day where I just feel like too beaten down, or I don't feel well, or something happens. And so knowing that I chose to show up today, hey, Steven, thanks so much for being here. Knowing that I chose to show up today, and I didn't choose to like just pop out, just gives me like a little boost and a little confidence. And I'm so glad to see that folks are showing up. I forgot to send out invites today. So thanks for being here anyway. I'm glad notifications are still going out. Usually I'm sending out invites earlier in the day so people can put this on their calendar. But I know notification also goes out on LinkedIn, at least when I'm actually live. I don't know if it does on Facebook, I don't think it does on YouTube. Um, I started by complaining actually for a couple of reasons. One, like I'm here, I'm human. Sometimes it's important to know what comes into the room with us when we are starting a conversation. And so that's what's coming into the room with me, all my complaints. And hey, Dale, thanks so much for joining. Glad to have you here. Dale is such a great supporter. If you're not following Dale, if you're not kind of connected to Dale, he's so insightful and so supportive and just a really good human. All of you who are showing up are good humans. Dale is just extra and incredibly supportive of me. So Dale, I appreciate you. But the other important thing about showing up is what I mentioned before, which is toxic positivity, right? So a lot of people, I sound like an influencer. A lot of people send me messages. A lot of people who send me messages will say like, "You're always so positive." It's how do you stay so positive? And like I'm just a regular person, and sometimes I have crappy days, and I like to talk about that too because like we're all just humans trying to be human all the time. And it doesn't always, not every day works out great. I mentioned this the other night, but there's a thing that I do with my clients sometimes when we start our calls. We start with what we're celebrating and also what's coming into the room with us. Because sometimes there's stuff that's like, it's not really coaching stuff, or it's not really like the topic that you want to talk about, but it's still there with us. So like I had a bad day, I had a fight with my spouse, I had a my kids are having whatever, I've got a migraine, the weather's bad, like whatever's coming into the room with us, just acknowledge it and say it. And something that I do with my clients who are coming in and they're like, I just want to vent, is that we set a timer for 99 seconds and I put it on the Zoom screen. And then they just go. And I just say, like, for 99 seconds, just complain, just vent, complain. And if they pause at like 40 seconds, I'll say, okay, what else? And if they say nothing else, I'll say, okay, then say the same stuff again. Get it out, right? Sometimes you just need to like vent it out. So that's not actually what tonight's about, but it felt appropriate to sort of bring into the conversation tonight because there is stuff coming into the room with me. And I'm glad you're here in the room with me as well. So let's get to tonight's topic because it's sort of an offshoot of last night's topic. Hey, Lee, welcome. Thanks for joining. And Dale says, thank you for the kind words, Lauren. Much appreciated. By the way, when I meet that Dale you described, I will send him your way. Oh, get out of here. You already exist. So tonight's topic is a little bit of an offshoot of last night's topic. And last night's topic was, if I quit, then they win, right? And it was about that feeling we have of, if I have to leave the company that I decided to join, then whoever they are, my manager, the company, my team, whoever it is who's causing you to want to leave, that feeling that they win. If you missed that, please go back and watch it. It's awesome. If I do say so myself. No, it's a topic I really like talking about because there are things that stop us from moving to another company or another career or another industry. And one of those things is I don't want to be the loser of something. I don't want to have lost. I don't want to have given up. And so last night was about they win. And tonight is about I lose, right? And I remember when I was a kid, my brother used to, he's my big brother, did all the big brother things he was supposed to do. Very cared for me a lot. We had a lot of fun, but he also like did things like hold me from arm's length away by my forehead, where I was like swinging to try to get out of the hold, and all the big brothery stuff. But one of the things he used to say is, "Let's flip a coin. Heads I win, tails you lose." And I would pick because I was little, and then I would say like, "Wait a minute, heads I win, tails you lose. No, that's not fair." And it's sort of that feeling if you think about the middle of your career and giving up what you've been working towards. So last night was about giving up because of somebody or some circumstance. Tonight is about giving up, and I'm going to talk about giving up and what that means in a minute. But tonight is about giving up your path, right? So we start out our careers, and many of us, me included, start out with like a bunch of different careers. I was a meeting planning assistant at a nonprofit, and then I was an accountant, which is hilarious. And then I was in sales and for a very short time. And then I found HR, or HR actually found me. I was tapped on the shoulder to move into an HR department. And 20 years later, now I'm in, this current career as an executive leadership coach. And early in my career, it felt very easy to change careers. Like meeting planning assistant. Okay. I mean, I really was like just a gopher. There wasn't really a career path there. Accounting, I could have maybe grown into like more accounting. I was doing very entry level stuff and working for a rental car company. So there was like a lot of title work. So it was sort of borderline accounting admin work. Could I have gone into accounting? Maybe, but it didn't feel like I was on a career path yet. Same thing with sales. That was like a 6-month stint. I was not good at it. I was doing business to business truck leasing and van leasing, and it was not my forte. And so when I moved into HR, it became my career. It was the first time in my adult life that I felt like I actually had a career and that there was growth ahead of me, that there was like a hill to climb, mountain to climb, right? And so I came in at this ground floor of HR. I did a good job. I got more responsibility. I did a good job. I got promoted to a new office that was opening, and I got to launch a new office. That was pretty cool. I got a new title. I got some more money. I got a company car, which is like, not that unusual for people to get company cars, but unusual when you're in HR to get a company car. But working for a rental car company, sure, makes sense. So here, then I got promoted to a better office, a bigger office, which actually turned out to be kind of a cleanup job, but still, it was promotion, right? It was more and more and more. And when I stopped growing there, now I had enough experience and enough career behind me in HR that I could move to something else in HR, somewhere else, more money, better title, better job, blah, blah, blah. And on I went for 20 years. And I talk to a lot of people who are in that path, right? And whether it's 10 or 20 or 30 years, they hit a wall. And yesterday I used the example of the old school Super Mario Brothers. And I haven't played Super Mario Brothers since I was like a kid, but I know it's come a long way and the graphics are way better. But in the early days of Super Mario Brothers, you had to like jump over these brick squares. And if you just ran Mario forward and he landed on the brick square, like in front of it, if you didn't jump him up, then he just was like right here, just going like this. Right. And that's sometimes what your career can feel like when you hit a point where it's not working anymore. And it cannot be working because you're not getting the promotion, you're not getting the money, you're not getting the level, you're not getting the people to report to you or the more responsibility, whatever it is that you're after, it's not happening anymore. And so it can be that causes you to start thinking about a career change. It also can be, I'm really successful. I'm a super successful sales manager. I'm a really successful marketing director, and I don't love it. Right? So there's some of the I'm not getting promoted, I'm stuck, maybe I should try something different mentality. And then there's also the I just don't like this career anymore. And I hit that with HR after about 15 years, and I stayed for another 5. And I found ways to like it, and I found other things to like in the company, and that's sort of how I became the vice president of whatever you need, and then backed myself out of it. But we hit this point in our careers where we just think we need something different, and we hang on to the thing we're already doing because we think we've put in so much time that we can't quit now, right? And so this shows up in life in a bunch of different ways. And I put it on my post today as an example from an amusement park, right? So I especially remember the early days of going to amusement parks, like when I was younger. You get on this line and you'd see like 2 hours from this point, and you'd be like, all right, we're psyched up, we're ready to go, we've had breakfast, and you go through this line, and the line never quite turns the way you think it will. Like you think you're going to go in a zigzag, but you actually go like 2 rows down, and then you double back, and it turns around. And they do that on purpose, clearly, because they want to disorient you and not have it be predictable when you're going to get to the front of the line. And it's smart, they've already told you it's going to be 2 hours. And you end up feeling like you've moved faster because you get to what feels like the front of the line because there's a doorway. And then you see inside and you see that there's another set of the line that's just like outside, but now inside. And you realize you're only halfway there. And then you have this like moment where you think, well, I've put in the time. I've already put in an hour behind me. I did want to go on this ride when I got in the line, but I kind of have to pee. I'm getting hungry. I didn't eat enough breakfast, right? Breakfast a long time ago. I'm starting to get hungry. It feels like it's going to be another hour before I get there. And then like the ride has a malfunction and they have to call in engineering. And they're like, sorry, folks, you can stay in line. We'll fix it in no time flat, but add a half hour onto what you're waiting for. And that's what it can be like in your career, is that you're getting somewhere, you're moving, you're learning stuff, but you just like you're not enjoying it anymore. And if you use the amusement park analogy, you're hot and sweaty and hungry, and like it just doesn't seem as exciting to get on this ride anymore. By the way, if you're ever looking for a buddy to go to an amusement park with, who you want to just like sit on a bench and hold your stuff while I read a book, I'm your girl. I don't like rides. Never have. So if you just need someone to hold your stuff, pay for my ticket. I'll hold everybody's stuff. I'll get lunch so that when you come off the ride, you're ready to eat. No problem. So it's this, you get to this decision point in your career, 10 years, 15, 20, however long you've been in your career, you get to this decision point where you have to decide, am I going to keep at it and keep doing the Mario thing where I'm running against a brick wall, trying to find things I still like about my career? Or do I want to change something? Do I want to do something different? And it's really hard to decide to do something different because it feels like I've worked so hard. I've been standing in this line for so long. I'm farther ahead than all of these people behind me. There are newer people in this career who will not get what I have because they don't have the experience, the capital, they haven't built up the reputation. And I have all of this stuff, but like, I'm just not having fun anymore. I'm feeling like this just isn't for me, but I don't know what else to do. And Dale says, you're describing the sunk cost fallacy in regard to time invested in a job. Yes, absolutely. Thanks for bringing up the terminology, Dale. Yeah, and sunk cost fallacy doesn't just happen in careers. It happens in relationships, right? Or where people stay in relationships because they've been in the relationship for so long. How could they not be in the relationship? It happens if you're living in a crappy house that you don't like, but you've got a mortgage. You're like, well, I've already put money into this. I don't really want to give it up. Catherine says, sometimes it's the right job, wrong timing. Your idea was before the right time. Industry didn't take off like you thought. I've waited 15 years for metaverse to circle back to my sphere to get business interest outside of gaming, even though last time it failed before, I'm ready to do it again. Yeah. Sometimes it is the wrong timing. Sometimes you're at the wrong level to move into the industry at the level you want to move into. Sometimes it's that you're a little lost, right? You get to the middle of your career. And when I say middle, I'm not talking about like the exact middle of, 44 years old or whatever it is. I'm talking about like 10 years in to 30 years in is the middle of your career. Um, uh, and it could be any of a bunch of things. Your timing was off. You're at a weird middle level where changing industries feels like you're going to have to take a step down to take a step up, or changing careers feels like you have to take a step down to take a step up. People talk about golden handcuffs, which is I think a Silicon Valley term that came up when people were being paid boatloads of money, but if they quit, they didn't get paid out a bunch of money. If they got fired, then they did, and so it was so hard to leave a company like a Google, Facebook, etc., because you were like tied down by so much money that you couldn't get anywhere else. And that has spread, the golden handcuffs theory has spread to where companies sort of brainwash their employees into thinking they are being paid so well that they can't leave and do something else. I just finished working with a client who had been with a company for about 15 years. And felt like there were golden handcuffs. And when we actually looked at total compensation and we actually looked at what this person could be making elsewhere, the handcuffs came off because there was little to no pay cut and there was upside depending on where this person went. There was a, decision-making process between types of industries which paid at different levels. So sometimes the things we think are keeping us somewhere are a story that we've created. And sometimes there is truth to it, right? Like if you're a VP of HR making, I don't know, $100, $200, $300,000, depending on your industry, the size of your company, all of that. And you want to become a financial advisor and you've got to go get your Series 6 or your Series 7 and you've got to go work for you're going to start at a much lower salary. You may build up to where you can make so much more money than you could have made in a corporate HR career. But you're making a choice to do that. And so sort of back to this thought of giving up or letting go, there's this feeling that if you're going to be a career changer in the middle of your career, that you did it wrong. There's a feeling that you should have made this decision 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's a feeling that your dream isn't working out. Your dream path isn't working out. And so you have failed. And so if you go somewhere else, if you do something else, you have failed. This is a failure on your part and you lose. Nobody wins, but you lose. And I say that it's all about choice. That you always have the opportunity to decide. And if you are deciding in the middle of your career, I don't like this path anymore. I don't want to be in cybersecurity anymore. That is not for me. Then you have an opportunity to decide what you want to do. You have an opportunity to make a conscious decision to veer off of your path and do something different. Now, the key for me, and before I say that, I see it. There's another message from Catherine. If you really want to achieve your dreams, really achieve them, not just daydream or talk about them, you've got to get out there and fail. Fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. Turn your mistakes into stepping stones for success. And that's John C. Maxwell from Failing Forward. Sorry, that didn't all show on the screen. That's they've got some sort of character limit on here. But that's Catherine's favorite quote. You can move to another industry, another job, another career without it being a failure. And the way that you do that is by getting support, right? So yesterday I talked about not running away from where you are, but running towards something. And there is some failure in that. And Catherine, I'm glad you brought that up. There is some failure in that, sort of on purpose, right? Because if you're in cybersecurity and you're looking for a sales job, you have to figure out how to rewrite your resume, how to talk about yourself and make your skills transferable, how to look for a job in a new industry, what to look for, how to figure out what kind of salary you could be taking in. And if you're moving to a commission-based job or a job with options or a job with variable pay or bonuses or things like that, there's all kinds of things to consider. And the way that I see people fail is that they don't get the support. They try to go it on their own, and they try to just sort of figure it out through Google. And Google is an amazing physician. Google is an amazing attorney for like top level Googling, right? Top level questioning. But if you're getting into the nitty gritty of your own stuff and trying to figure out how to go from this career to that, you have so many things to consider. You have to consider what kind of money you need to make, what kind of money you want to make. Those are two different things. You have to consider what you want to be doing, not just what you don't want to be doing anymore, right? So I worked in HR for 20 years. My least favorite job was compensation. I struggled with it. I struggled with the math. I'm great at Excel, so I figured it out, but it was my least favorite part of my job. And so if I were trying to get out of compensation, I would need to decide what I wanted to get into, right? And not just be running away from doing compensation work, but be running towards what areas of HR I want to specialize in, if I wanted to stay in HR at all. Clearly, in the end, I didn't stay in HR. Here I am as a coach with my own business. But you want to be thoughtful about what you want. And so step one is decide that you're ready to let go of the path. You don't have to stay on the yellow brick road. You can veer off. You can do something different. But you have to figure out what that is that you want to do. And you can do that by figuring out what pieces of your job you like. What aspects of work are you enjoying? What aspects of work do you see other people doing that you're like, that's cool, I want to do that? And what do you need to do in order to get those skills if you don't already have them? Are there classes you can take? Is there, is there a certification that you need to get? All of those questions. Dale says, Catherine Parsons, the Maxwell quote describes a very practical approach to a successful career. For sure. Absolutely. And if we could all be practical all the time, nobody would need any support from anybody. It's totally, we are imperfect beings, which is so perfect. It's so great because it makes us interconnected and it makes us need each other and it gives us opportunity to support each other. And so if you're thinking about what's next for you and you're like, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I don't want to be in IT anymore. I don't want to be in HR anymore. I don't want to sell things anymore. That's the part that you feel like, well, I can't give up on it now because it's been my career for however long. And I say, if you give yourself the grace to let go of this pretend future that you've built for yourself, that's this linear path up and over and up again, to this imaginary job that you thought you'd have sometime in the future, and you can clear that path and say, this is the end of my path here. I'm going to let go of moving forward on this path. And instead, I'm going to look around me and decide what's interesting to me. And then you get the support to do it. You can be successful in another career, work with career changers all the time. And yes, are there limitations? Sure. If you are a marketing professional and you would like to be a neurosurgeon, you're going to have to go back to medical school. They're not going to let you into a hospital to be a neurosurgeon with a marketing background. However, if you want to transition from marketing to sales, if you want to transition from IT to recruiting, from teaching to learning and development, from teaching to sales, like there is a ton of opportunity, and we don't all know the recipe to get to that opportunity. So I would urge you to get support if you're thinking about this, so that you can gracefully and powerfully let go of what you imagined your future would be, and really powerfully decide what you want to do next, running towards something instead of running away from where you are. And Catherine says, being a strong leader is transferable no matter what industry. So, so true. Don't discount your soft skills. I can't train someone on how to be empathetic or intellectually curious. Yes, so true, Catherine. And the truth is, like, not only are your soft skills transferable, but your hard skills are transferable. So if you have written and delivered a curriculum, you have been a project manager. If you have figured out a strategy to deploy new software to 1,000 employees without disruption or with minimal disruption, then you know how to plan and deliver an event, right? So it's all about figuring out how to talk about yourself, how to determine how your skills are transferable, how to talk about your leadership skills and why they matter to whatever industry you're going to, how to talk about your hard skills and the things that you've done, the support that you've offered. Almost every job has some level of customer service in it. Almost every job has some level of planning and project management in it. Almost every job has some Excel in it, whether you love it or hate it. And the important thing is for you to get support. And when I say get support, and I'm going to say it over and over again, you have to be careful about where you get support from. Now, of course, I'm going to tell you should get support from me. This is what I specialize in. I help people figure out who and how and what they want to be when they grow up. And I help them get that thing, whatever that is, from a career standpoint. And when you're talking about your career, you also end up talking about your life because it's all intertwined. That said, I'm not right for everybody, as much as I'd like to believe that. But if you want to have a conversation with me, send me a DM. I'll send you a link to set up a call with me. We will talk about whether coaching is right for you or not. If it's not, then I'll give you some resources to look for other things. If it is, then great. Hopefully we work together and that's amazing. What you want to be careful of is getting support from people who are out to either commiserate with you or keep you in your place. And when I say keep you in your place, what I mean is that you have people in your life. They could be parents, they could be children, spouses, partners, best friends, who like you just the way you are. And they are not trying to hold you back. This is not like a deliberate or abusive kind of thing that I'm talking about. And if you are in an abusive situation, I would urge you to get some real help for that. But what I'm talking about is like your spouse who knows what to expect, right? You come home at X time every night. You are home on the weekends or you're not, but you're predictable because you're in this career and in this job and they know what to expect. If you're going to change careers, if you're going to change jobs, that person's life is going to be disrupted. And the natural thing for them to do is to protect the life that you have, right? So they may say like, oh, go get another job so you'll be happier. And then when you start talking about actually switching careers, they're like, oh, I don't know if you should do that. Why don't you just get another job in the same industry? And it's not because they don't want you to be happy. It's because it is very hard to have your life disrupted. And so everybody who's around you, whose life will be affected, will have a tendency, and this is not a blanket statement for everybody, right? It's not all people, it's not all partners, it's not all parents, it's not all children, but as a general sort of thing I've seen, the people in your life want to keep you safe and they want to keep you in the familiar. So they are not the right people to help you figure that out. The other set of not right people, was the first one I mentioned, which is the commiserators, right? So if you're in a group of friends and all of you are trying to change careers, there's a tendency to say like, yeah, it sucks. Oh, it sucks out there. Oh, I can't get any interviews, right? And to really just commiserate with each other. And while you feel comforted by each other, you then end up holding each other back. So I would urge you to find a coach, find a mentor, find somebody who you know who has changed careers and ask them how they did it and get some support, because as human beings, we are not meant to do things all by ourselves without any help or support at all. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. Let me know if you're deciding to switch yourself from giving up to letting go. And if you need some help figuring out what you like and don't like about your job, let me know. Send me a DM and we'll chat in the DMs and see if it makes sense for us to make an appointment. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. So great to see you all.